Great. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our regular meeting for the City Council, Monday, April 23rd, 7 p.m. here at City Hall. For those wishing to address the City Council on any item on the agenda or under public appearances or oral communications, please complete a speaker card located at the entrance to the council chambers and submit to a staff member as early at the meeting as possible. Let's all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which stands one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We have a couple of presentations this evening. The first presentation we have is proclaiming, oh, that's right. Prior to that, can we have roll call, please? Trying to get to business.
Thank you for waiting on me. Ms. Christensen?
Here.
Mr. Gingona?
Here.
Mr. Buenaventura?
Present.
Mr. Sylvester?
Present.
Ms. Manalo?
Present. Thank you very much. Now on to presentations. We have the proclamation to the support of Hepatitis B Awareness Campaign, and we have Mr. Richard So, coordinator of SF Hep B Free Bay Area.
Run it. There.
Hey, good to see you again.
So we have a proclamation in support of SF Hep B Free Bay Area. Whereas Daly City celebrates its multicultural population and the strength of its immigrants, SF Hep B Bay Area fights against hepatitis B and the resulting liver disease, which is particularly relevant given at Daly City's large Asian Pacific Islander population. Whereas worldwide, approximately 240 million people are chronically infected with hepatitis B. And in the United States, the Center for Disease Control and Prevention estimates about 2 million Americans are chronically infected with hepatitis B. The California Department of Public Health estimates about 350,000 California residents are chronically infected with Hep B. And whereas Hep B can lead to liver disease, cirrhosis, liver cancer, liver failure, and death. The World Health Organization estimates that each year approximately 600,000 to 1 million people worldwide die of hepatitis B and liver disease. Whereas hepatitis B infects as many as 1 in 12 Asian Pacific American Islander adult residents and also disproportionately affects African and Central European immigrants. Whereas the San Francisco Bay Area has one of the highest rates of chronic hepatitis B and liver cancer in the United States. And the CDC reports that liver cancer from Hep B and hepatitis C kill more people in the San Francisco Bay Area than elsewhere in the United States. And whereas through campaigns to raise public awareness about hepatitis B, access screening for hepatitis B, and linkage to appropriate care, Daly City residents can know their hepatitis B status and take measures to prevent and treat hepatitis infections. Now, therefore, I, Jocelyn Manalo, Mayor of the City of Daly City, on behalf of the City Council, do declare the support for SF Hep B Free Bay Area and its fight against hepatitis B and its related liver disease.
Thank you so much.
So thank you for your work. And I give the opportunity for you because I know we have an event in Daly City that everyone can learn about. And so
yeah, I'll be real short.
You have to speak facing the microphone,
okay.
or else all the people at home aren't going to hear it.
Okay. So my name is Richard So. I'm the program coordinator for SF Hep B Free Bay Area. I know it's a complex name. And so first I wanted to thank the City Council and Mayor Manalo for doing this proclamation and supporting our work. Our organization is really out there to talk about hepatitis B. It's a disease that not a lot of people know about. And it's really unfortunate given that it's called a silent killer because you don't have any symptoms when you're infected, so most people don't know, and by the time you actually have pain, it's usually too late. So we wanted to invite everyone, including all the city council members, to our next activity, and the Daly City community, to our next hepatitis B awareness event. It's going to be on May 12th at the Dolger Senior Center at 101 Lake Merced Boulevard from 12 to 2:30, and it's going to be great. We're going to be offering free lunch and free hepatitis B screening, so no, you don't need insurance or anything, totally free, so you can come chow down and learn a little bit about Hep B. Mayor Manalo will be speaking. We'll be showing a short, cool Hep B documentary starring 2 Bay Area residents who have worked through hepatitis B. And so we hope you'll come. You're all invited, and thank you for this opportunity, and thank you for your support.
Thank you.
Mr. So, Vice Mayor has a question. Vice Mayor Venaventura has a question.
Oh, sure.
So I've been hearing actually a lot about hepatitis B, but I'll confess I'm not that knowledgeable of it. So my question is, I'll just throw them out to you. Is the hepatitis B the vaccine that you get 3 different separate vaccines, number one? And is there an opportunity to get the free vaccines for people who can't afford it? And with respect to the actual testing, is it just a blood test, and will you know? I don't know. What's the time period that you'll know if you go to the screen?
So all great questions. So yes, it is the vaccine that you get 3 times. Once, like the first day you go, then the next one will be 1 month after, and the next one will be 6 months after that. And the reason why they do that is that the vaccine efficacy, I believe it's about like 30% the first shot, then like 60 or 70% the second shot, and then like 98.9% the third shot. So they're just making sure you get covered for that. In terms of the blood test, it's not as simple as a diabetes pinprick, that you'll actually have to have a phlebotomist take a small vial of blood, not as much as when you give for a blood drive, so you're not going to feel woozy after. And then depending on what lab is doing that test, for our community screenings, it takes about a month, and then the healthcare provider that we're partnered with sends out a letter to your address that you gave, talking about your status and what you need to do. In terms of getting the vaccine and screening and vaccination, because they're preventative services, are on most insurances covered completely free without any copay. And if you don't have insurance, there are several programs in the county as well as nonprofits that provide this service. The county mobile clinic will give you vaccination for free. The Samaritan House will give vaccination for free. And then the county health system itself has things like the ACE Health program and Medicare and Medi-Cal that, yes, you need to sign up for that insurance or be eligible. And then once you see a primary care clinician, you can get the vaccines through that system as well.
One final question. If you are screened and you are positive for it, what is the treatment for that?
That's a great question too. So if it's early, which in most cases it will be if you're doing the screening when you're younger, you can monitor it with several tests that your doctor will do. One of them is a blood test that you'll take specific for this liver enzyme. And then another one is an ultrasound. And if your doctor thinks it's appropriate, you won't need to go on a daily pill, and you just monitor that every 3 to 6 months, depending on what your physician says, and you could be good for the rest of your life. If your physician decides that your viral levels get a particular range, or that there's some masses on your liver, they'll probably put you on a medication that's a pill a day. It has few side effects, and you take it generally for life, given so that the virus doesn't build resistance to it. It is not ridiculously expensive, but it is also not cheap. Most people with commercial insurance think it's manageable, but there are also programs through the county, through Medi-Cal, through Medicare, and through the pharmaceutical companies that make it, that allow you to get access for it without having to pay those costs.
Okay, thank you. Very helpful.
All right,
Thank you very much.
great. Thank you so much.
All right.
We are proclaiming April 2018 as National Arab American Heritage Month, and we have Mr. Omar Rashid.
That's right.
Thank you so much for being here. So, the proclamation for National Arab American Heritage Month. Whereas for over a century, Arab Americans have been making valuable contributions to virtually every aspect of American society, in medicine, law, business, technology, government, and culture. And whereas since migrating to America, men and women of Arab descent have shared their rich culture and traditions with neighbors and friends, while also setting fine examples of model citizens and their public servants. Whereas they brought with them to America their resilient family values, strong work ethic, dedication to education, and diversity in faith and creed that have added strength to our great democracy. And whereas Arab Americans have also enriched our society by sharing in the opportunistic American spirit that makes our nation free and prosperous. And whereas the history of Arab Americans in American life often remains neglected or defaced by misunderstanding, bigotry, and anti-Arab hate in forms of crimes and speech. And whereas Arab American issues such as civil rights abuses, harmful stereotyping, and bullying must be combated in forms of education and awareness. And whereas they join all Americans in the desire to see a peaceful and diverse society where every individual is treated equally and feels safe. And whereas the incredible contributions and heritage of Arab Americans have helped us build a better nation and community. Now therefore I, Jocelyn Manalo, Mayor of the City of Daly City, and City Council celebrate contributions of Arab Americans that they've made to society and do hereby proclaim April 2018 National Arab American Heritage Month in Daly City and encourage all residents to join me in this special observance.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I'm honored to be here. And before I go on, I just want to recognize Local 829. Thank you guys so much for being here. As a young man, I decided to run at Westmore High School a long time ago, 1989, and made it home. As a Daly City proud man, even though I live in San Bruno, my San Bruno people might not like this too much, but I really love Daly City and I'm loyal to Daly City. I felt safe from day one. As an Arab, as a Muslim man, I felt safe. In the worst of time, you made me feel safe and loved. So therefore, I thank you so much for that. We are coming up on a very special month for the Muslim community of month of Ramadan. So please, everybody save this on your calendar. May 22nd. I'm going to invite everybody ahead of time to our breakfast at Westmore High School in the cafeteria. We start the program at 7:45 and we eat like at 8:19 to be exact, so please don't be late. Thank you so much for having me. I'm honored. Thank you so much.
Mr. Rashid? Mr. Rashid? Omar, Mr. Rashid? You went off really a little too fast. We want to have some comments and questions, and so
Sorry.
Vice Mayor Bonaventura.
So what Omar just did is really an example of really the warmth and friendship this man has for the community. He has just basically invited you all to a wonderful celebration that occurs every year that I have been lucky to be a part of. It is a special occasion for the community where they bring out just all this wonderful food, and it's all home cooked by different people who are coming in to contribute to the pot. And the atmosphere, the feeling of warmth and togetherness, it's something that's truly remarkable and that you've captured in one gym in Daly City every year. And for that, I thank you for continuing to do that. I think you're an incredible person, the amount of energy and devotion you have to our city, even though you don't live here anymore. We're just lucky to have you here continuously, and I just want to say thank you, really, for all that you've done.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
And also, Councilmember Sylvester.
No more.
Yes, sir.
I remember last year going, and when I showed up, it's like it didn't make any difference who you were. You're just a human being. And it was really, really great. And of course, as you can tell, I don't miss many meals, but the food was outstanding, and I'm actually looking forward to it. So I thank you so much for the invite. I applaud you for being recognized. That proclamation is well deserved. Thank you so much, sir, for what you do for the community.
Thank you so much. Councilmember Gungona.
Was it 1989, Omar? I think when you started, I was the wrestling coach at Westmore '87, and you walked in and became the soccer coach, and then went on to become more than what they are over there. I want to thank you for all the years that you've done and committed to not only the community of Daly City, but the kids at Westmore High School. It's clear from knowing you all these years that you are committed to the kids. Just this year, I took the job on at Terra Nova and became the head coach of wrestling there, so I understand what it's like to be with these young people on a day-to-day basis. So congratulations, and we all know the secret to your youth, and that is being around these young people and being able to impart the wisdom that you've had over the years, and it's what keeps both of us young.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. On our, we do have a presentation. We have the Honorable Mark Church, our Chief Elections Officer from San Mateo County, and he'll be talking about the California Voters' Choice Act, some information for the public and those watching around how there are going to be some changes in voting. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Madam Mayor and members of the council, and Ms. Martell. Thank you for having me. This is an exciting time for elections here in San Mateo County and elsewhere throughout the state. And that's because of the Voters' Choice Act. As you know, the Secretary of State was in town last Thursday to raise awareness of the voting options that are available under the Voters' Choice Act. You were all well represented by your mayor, who was kind enough to attend. Thank you for being there, Madam Mayor. And tonight I want to talk to you about the Voters' Choice Act, what it is, and how it will work in San Mateo County. And we have a slide presentation, I believe, if we can get that going. Madam Clerk. While they're trying to get that figured out, I think I'll just go ahead and do the presentation. I don't think we have hard copies, but I'm just going to go ahead and tell you about the Voters' Choice Act.
There we go.
This is, here we go. So, thank you. So, this is landmark legislation. It's effective on January 1st of this year. It will fundamentally transform how elections are conducted in the state of California now and into the future. The state will ultimately be changing from a traditional polling place model to an all-mail ballot vote center model with ballot drop-off locations. And this bill is part of a sweeping collection of election reforms designed to increase voter participation. The act authorizes 14 counties to participate in this new election model. The remaining counties are authorized to participate in 2020 and beyond. San Mateo County is at the forefront of this process, having successfully implemented our AB 2028 all-mail ballot pilot program, which some of you may remember back in 2015. And this legislation, in many ways, is patterned after that experience and contains many of the recommendations and methodologies in our report of that election to the Secretary of State and the state legislature. Only 5 counties will actually implement this new model in the upcoming June election, and they're listed here. This act applies to all elections, including the presidential and gubernatorial elections. Previously, our pilot program applied only to local elections, and the decision to participate is discretionary at the county level. Our Board of Supervisors has already authorized moving forward with this new election model. We're implementing the Voters' Choice Act in the upcoming June and November elections. And the Voters' Choice Act provides choices on how to vote. Voters can choose to vote by mail, they can vote in person at a vote center, or they can drop off their voted ballot at a ballot drop-off location. The major difference from a traditional polling place election is that ballots will be mailed to every registered voter in the county 29 days before the election, starting on May 7. Each ballot will have a postage-paid return envelope, and ballots will be provided in Spanish, Chinese, and English as required by the Federal Voting Rights Act, and ballots that are postmarked by Election Day and received no later than 3 days after the election will be accepted, and the cutoff there is June 8th. Instead of traditional polling places, we will have what we refer to as vote centers. Unlike a traditional polling place, voters can vote in person at any vote center in the county. Early voting will start 29 days before Election Day and will include the 2 weekends and Memorial Day before the election. And for the 3 days before Election Day and on Election Day, each city or town will have at least 1 vote center. Voters can receive a replacement ballot for a damaged or lost ballot at any vote center, and voters can also drop off a voted ballot at any vote center. Vote centers also provide access to our voter registration database in real time, which allows for immediate verification of voter status. This allows for conditional voter registration at the vote centers up through Election Day. Each vote center will have multilingual assistance and provide 3 accessible voting machines for persons with disabilities. 29 days before Election Day, we will open 4 vote centers in North, Central, and South County. 10 days before Election Day, the Voters' Choice Act requires at least 1 vote center for every 50,000 registered voters. We will actually have 9 vote centers, 1 more than is required. And 3 days before Election Day, we will have 39 vote centers based on 1 vote center for every 10,000 registered voters. In addition to vote centers, the statute also requires ballot drop-off locations starting 28 days before Election Day. At least 1 location is required for every 15,000 registered voters. We will have 28 locations, 2 more than is required by the statute. And in order to protect voted ballots, outside ballot drop boxes will be constructed with military-grade materials with image capture technology. This is a bird's eye view of the vote centers and ballot drop-off locations scheduled to be placed throughout the county. In selecting these sites, consideration was given to the criteria set forth in the statute, including proximity to public transportation, population centers, language minority communities, and low-income communities. An itemized list of the vote center and ballot drop-off box locations and hours were left on the dais, and there are also some at the counter at the entrance to these chambers. But if you notice on these itemized lists which you have before you, there are 5 vote centers located in Daly City, and there is a 24-hour outside drop-off box located at the Mike Nevin Health Center. The law requires a comprehensive election administration plan for elections conducted under the Act. You should have a copy of that as well. Our plan was prepared in consultation with our Voting Accessibility Advisory Committee, comprised of voters with disabilities, and our Language Accessibility Advisory Committee, comprised of representatives of language minority communities. The election administration plan also includes a voter education and outreach plan, which was recently approved by the Secretary of State with minor modifications. Our voter education and outreach plan will include public meetings and a media campaign. We're targeting voters who don't usually vote by mail with multiple communications. Our media campaign includes radio, television, digital, print, and social media with multilingual communications. Voters who vote by mail will receive a new digital I voted sticker, which they can use on their social media postings and on their email accounts. Voters will have the option of including a banner indicating the number of years they have been registered to vote.
Ooh, goody. I'm putting mine in the window.
I know those are popular. For the
Well, you can print it.
For the upcoming June election, we will be deploying our e-slate voting system, which will include the use of 400 e-slates and 210 laptops using VPN and Wi-Fi connections and on-demand ballot printers. Our voting machines are nearing the end of their useful life and they're costly to deploy. So we're now evaluating a new system, and we will be testing it in small elections in 2019 and deploying it in the 2020 presidential election. The new vote center technology will use paper ballots with ballot scanners and e-poll books, and will be more cost efficient than our existing legacy system. I'm sure you've heard a lot in the news lately about voting system security. Although our legacy hard inter-civic voting system is reaching the end of its useful life, I want to assure the voters of San Mateo County that it is still a secure and reliable system. Voters can vote with a sense of confidence in knowing that their votes are processed accurately and securely. Our voting system has been certified by the California Secretary of State, and it's satisfied both federal and state standards. Our voting system is a closed system. It does not have any connections to the internet or the county network, and it is encrypted to protect voter tabulation data, has physical hardware access controls, and a strict chain of custody security procedures producing paper and digital audit trails. We also employ best practices and utilize dual-factor authentication to mitigate risk and cybersecurity breaches. Conditional voter registration will be available at all vote centers. Voters who miss the 15-day registration deadline will be allowed to conditionally register to vote and up to and including Election Day, and be provided a provisional ballot. Provisional ballots will be counted once the voter's eligibility is confirmed.
Okay.
And this is our contact information for our office and the Secretary of State, and we're available to answer any questions the voters may have. And Madam Mayor, that concludes my report, and thank you very much for the opportunity to present this.
Thank you so much for being here to present and to share with the public the new voting education that is necessary, as well as people watching on TV. I don't think it hasn't even been a week since I seen you at the Dolger Senior Center.
It has been.
So thank you for being in Daly City again. At this point, I do open it up for questions from my colleagues.
Yes, good evening, Mr. Church.
Mr. Vice Mayor.
Thank you for being here. So I always had a question regarding provisional ballots. If someone in the traditional system had showed up to a polling place and they don't seem to be registered, or they do something and they figure out that they can actually vote provisionally, what does that actually mean in terms of when that person vote is actually tallied and counted for that night? And I'm not talking about at some future time, but when is the process that vote matters?
So the conditional voter registration, the provisional ballots are counted later in the process.
Right.
First, if a person votes and there is some issue, for example, if they're not registered, they will be provided a registration form, but the actual provisional ballots will not be counted until later in the process.
So that's
So it is about a 2-week or to 3-week process. We have 29 days. It's now 30 days to certify the election results. But in the weeks following Election Day, we process the remaining vote-by-mail ballots and then the conditional, the provisional ballots.
I see. Okay. And then you had indicated that some of the languages were put up there. Was there any thought to the Tagalog or Filipino language being included in that?
Yes, the Tagalog, these are required by the Federal Voting Rights Act based on the amount of the population, and the population meets, for Chinese and Spanish, meets the necessary threshold in the county for sample ballots to be mailed out in those languages. For Tagalog, it meets a threshold for the facsimile ballot to be printed at the vote centers, which will be posted at the vote centers. It's a 5% threshold for the sample ballot, and it's a 3% threshold for the facsimile ballots.
Okay. And then the other question I had was, when it comes to recounts or things of that sort, does this new process speed up if a recount was ever ordered or asked for?
I don't think it will speed up the recount process. We are, based on what happened in 2015, 97.5% of the people voted by mail. Only 2.5% voted at the vote centers. So the recount process, and it depends on what the request is. It's the candidate who requests the recount, and the candidate can request an entire recount or just a partial recount. But this will not necessarily speed up that process.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Church.
Thank you. Councilmember Christensen.
A number of people have always asked this question. Well, is there a way I can vote twice, or maybe thrice, or maybe 4 times? So I'd like you to explain how the process works that prevents that. So if I mail in my ballot on the same day that I try to go to a voting center, what happens?
So the law provides that whatever ballot is received first, that's the ballot that would be counted.
Great.
Anything that we receive afterwards, whether it's an attempted paper ballot at a vote center or something else, it will not be counted. Whatever we receive first is what will be counted.
And
And we will
And
know.
how often will the records of who has voted, will people at the vote centers, do they have immediate information based on that?
Yes. So the vote centers are connected to our voter registration database.
Great.
And both locally and to the statewide voter registration database. And they are, we will note in real time whether that person has voted at another vote center, for example.
Great, thank you. Because it's hard enough to get people to vote, but every once in a while you get a person who just wants to vote all the time. So, you know, you kind of got to balance it out. So if you're thinking of voting twice, forget it. It's not going to work. Just vote once. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments or questions? Seeing none, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you again.
Thank you. Very informative.
Next on our presentations, we have the Utility Box Art Project. We have the Chair of our Arts and Culture Commission, Nancy Rodriguez, and also Professor Amir Sabir Eshfanhani from Skyline College. I also see in the audience Miss Elizabeth Espinda and Arlene Dos Magboal.
Good evening, Mayor Jocelyn and City Council members. On behalf of the Arts and Culture Commission, we would like to discuss and get your approval on the partnership and the city utility boxes that our instructor and Professor Amir is doing with Skyline and the Daly City Arts and Culture Commission. And I think that you can talk a little bit more about it. We're really excited about this particular partnership, but again, we want to make sure City Council is cognizant of what kinds of images will be appearing on our utility boxes, and I think they've done every effort to make it reflect our communities and have been very conscientious of what goes up and in what neighborhoods. So we hope you enjoy it, and again, just a little push, if people have not visited upstairs, we have one exhibit actually happening right now, which is a Salvadoran artist, Marta Ivonne Galindo, if you want to check it out. And then on May 17th, we'll be having a new art exhibit. It is Paul Ronis who will be presenting his artwork, and this is the kind of work that we've been trying to support through the Arts and Culture Commission. So if you'd like to.
Hi, council members. So thank you for having us here and doing the presentation. I just wanted to give kind of a context of where this partnership came from. So a lot of us on the council are educators, and I felt that we needed to connect with schools around Daly City or even colleges that have students that are from Daly City. And so how do we get them engaged in the process of the city, right? And what more than art? And so we were thinking about, okay, how do we get connected to elementary schools or high schools or art projects? And we were thinking of how other cities have done it. And I met a person, well, I didn't meet her. She's one of my really good friends and colleagues over at Skyline, who's a vice president there. And Angelica Garcia was like, hey, I heard you were, Arts and Culture Commissioner. How can our students help you all out in Daly City? Because a lot of our students in Skyline College are from Daly City. And so she set up a meeting with professors in the art department, and Professor Amir Esfahani was one of them. Thank you. And so we met like last April, and then we met again, and we were like, okay, well, how can we get these educational outcomes that you have for your classes, painting 1 and 2, but also like, what can we do here in Daly City? Is there a wall? Is there like, San Francisco has these hearts, but what do we have in Daly City, right? And so I brought it up to our council meeting, and I'm like, what can we do to engage our students to like, with a final project, right? Like, how can they take a class with their professor, and then their final project would be to paint electrical boxes, but not just to paint it, but to do the research of the actual community, to understand who's in the community, What are the demographics? What are some of the issues and challenges that they go through? And so that was part of his class, and he'll speak a little bit more with his students on the PowerPoint presentation. And so the process that we had was Amir came to one of our meetings in the fall to present how can he incorporate this in his curriculum for the spring. And he showed us like how he actually teaches his students how to paint. And so we were like, okay, well, how do we make this happen? And so we talked to folks and we were like, well, there's these electrical boxes that are not painted. And we did some research on other cities that have these electrical boxes painted, and it really represents the neighborhoods that, you know, the people live in. And so we were like, okay, well, how many electrical boxes do we have and how can we use them? And so there's 15 that we can use. And I asked Amir, can you do 15? And he's like, it's perfect. And he said, I'm going to show you 15 pieces of art that my students will come up with in April, and I want to bring it to your meeting, and we can like have a discussion around the paintings. We can also think about like how it represents the community and how they came up with the actual paintings. And so it was brought to our attention that we should bring it to all of you to show what the project is. And we really want Amir and his students to kind of tell you more about the process and what they came up with, and how they superimposed it on this really cool PowerPoint. Yeah, so I'm going to introduce Professor Amir Esfahani.
Hello. First of all, I want to thank you all for having me here. So I'm Associate Professor Amir Esfahani. I teach over at Skyline College, and like Arlene said, we're trying to find all sorts of ways to reach out to the community all over the peninsula. And Daly City is in close proximity. We have a lot of students from Daly City, so it was great to work with the official name. I've been calling you the Arts Commission, but I think it's the Art and Culture.
Arts and Culture Commission.
Okay, Commission. Sorry about that. So what we've done here is we've actually designed a Painting 1 and 2 course, which is it's a standard. It's kind of it's in the standard line of courses that an art student would take to transfer to CSU or UC. But what we've done here is we've developed a course and curriculum that has an emphasis on mural and street art. So they get everything they get in Painting 1 and 2, but they also get to learn techniques to do murals. And so this is it's a Friday class. It's all day long, and it's very intense. And so the first project we did is work with you guys to develop artworks for these generator boxes. And so if you look at this first one, you can see this is one of our students, Alejandro Esquivias. He's actually right over here. You want to stand up, Alejandro? So
well, it's beautiful.
It is. It is. They're all.
And it's in my neighborhood.
There you go.
Thank you.
So, I bullet pointed out. I have about 8 or 9 slides, or maybe 10 actually slides here, and most of them I've bulleted out. But as you can see here, I'll just read one of these that Alejandro wrote. The plant and textile patterns these represent the Filipino community. The Sambaguita or jasmine, for example, represents purity, devotion, strength, and dedication. These students, they did a lot of research on these, and they chose iconography that fit the community. And, you know, they all wrote basically essays about their pieces. I've just bullet pointed most of them for you. I left Alejandro's as is, so you could just see some of the work that they've done on these. So I'm going to skip to the next one. It's this button right here, I'm guessing. So here's one at DeLong and John Daly Boulevard, transportation theme. The green Daly City sign was a replica exit for Daly City. You can see it's actually very clever. And they've done this. The great thing is they've done this very smart. Not only have they done their research on the culture and where they're placing these murals, they've also done it in a way that's actually extremely economical. So they've planned their colors and everything because, of course, this isn't free, right? We need to fund these. We're not asking Daly City for funding. We've already got funding. So that's one great thing. We've worked with a program at Skyline called Cypher, who's actually funded this whole process for us. They're buying paint. We've also worked with local businesses and companies to give us resources, paint, materials, money for this project. So there will be no burden on Daly City. So here's another one. This one's kind of going off lowrider culture, which, you know, has a very diverse community in Daly City. Here's Washington, San Pedro. So this one, they were kind of, the students were kind of trying to do something more for kids. You can see they put a gateway that says, imagine your dreams, and they've kind of done a little cat theme here and spaceships, like everything, you know, just to keep your imagination running. Hickey and Callan, so they've used indigenous, Filipino. Actually, I think they used all sorts of things here, like they used Maori, but they've also have a Dia de los Muertos kind of theme going. Another transportation theme. I really like this one. They've actually included like the Golden Gate Bridge on here, which isn't in Daly City, but you can see we've included Golden Gate Bridge in a bus ad, which is, they basically turned this box into a little bus. And they're both the gateway to San Francisco, Daly City, the gateway to San Francisco and the peninsula. This one's outside of In-N-Out, so they've done something, that's a major hangout for my students after class, especially the evening classes. So they've done something here that was more influenced by Bay Area street art culture, which is pretty much the aesthetic of their generation, which they've written right there. And also bringing in, you know, this is right by one of the biggest Korean markets in the area. So they've included, you know, like emphasis on Korean toys, things like that. This one's great. So they've done this is the off the grid. They have a taco truck going down into the water. They did a underwater thing because of the proximity to the ocean and the bay. They've also got the Cow Palace on there. A lot of people don't know Cow Palace is in Daly City, so the students they were really wanting to make that known. They were, you know, it's in Daly City, it's not in San Francisco. This one's really beautiful. This one is probably going to go down at Hickey and Kaiser Drive. So you can see they've really done their research here. The bridge symbolizes the crossover between life and death. Going off, you know, there's a lot of things. There's like the Chinese cemetery on that street. There's the Kaiser. So the tree depicted is blue wisteria tree. Wisteria tree colors have different meanings depending on their color. You know, they've just done all sorts of research on these things. So that's the final one. I have two more on paper that are just as good. The students didn't get me the pictures in time to get on the presentation list. So if you guys want to see those, they're available to you as well.
Thank you.
So that's the presentation.
Thank you very much. Any comments or questions from my colleagues?
Professor Espahani?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good. First of all, I'd like to thank you, and I also like to thank our Arts and Culture Commission. It seems like it's been revived. You know, it's a lot of work, and it's a combination of ideas. I enjoy, when I come here, I'm kind of looking forward to seeing what art is up on the wall and the constant change that I see that's coming, and the collaboration between academia and city government. You ought to be commended, both of you. I also appreciate staff, I guess the city manager, who also meets within the Arts and Culture Commission, because if it wasn't for the city manager saying yes, hey, that's a good idea, let's do it, we probably would not be here where we are today. So basically, I love the collaboration, and thank you for everything that all of you do. I would ask maybe I get somebody to come over and paint my garage, but let's deal with the electrical boxes first. But again, thank you so much.
Vice Mayor Benaventura.
Yeah, I tell you, this is a phenomenal idea, and the amount of thought, the research, the coordination, the planning, I think it's incredible what you guys are doing. Even like, you know, the very word Sampaguita just brought back memories of my own childhood. And so you guys really dig deep and found out what the community is feeling. And so I commend you for it. I think it's wonderful. I think this is the kind of thing that could put Daly City on the map. It's beautiful, beautiful artwork. I'm even hoping you can expand it to other utilities.
Right.
Because it's just, it makes sense, and it really will add to our art and culture here in Daly City. So I had a question about the sort of turnover or recycling of the different spots. How long do you anticipate that, these works of art staying there to be replaced by new ones?
Well, you guys are really going to be in charge of that, but the murals we're doing, the life of them, because of the products we're using, they could be up to 10 years or longer before they even fade. So these could be really long term.
Okay.
I'm hoping that we do want to work with you all more in the future, and I'm hoping that'll be at different venues, different sites, and then at some point, when the artwork starts fading too much, then we'll probably start repeating in those same areas, if that makes sense.
If I might just add, Mayor and council members, we've identified 16 locations of utility boxes that will be part of this project. We have far more utility boxes in the city. However, the 16 that were initially selected for this project were identified as utility boxes that we don't have any anticipated work that we're going to be doing. Some of the other utility boxes we will be upgrading and replacing. And so we didn't want to have the students paint utility boxes that then would be removed. And so it was felt that 16 was probably about what they could handle right now. And in the future, once the additional utility boxes that the city controls, because we don't control all of them, some of them are PG&E boxes and that kind of thing, but the additional utility boxes that we control have been upgraded and replaced, then that would provide a whole new palette available for those who want to, at that point in time, maybe take on doing some additional murals.
I mean, have you reached out to places like PG&E to see if they'll?
We have not yet. But like City Manager Patricia said, that this was probably about the maximum we could do for that class. We have about 30 students, and there's about 3 or 4 per box on this project. But next semester is a whole new semester.
That's what I'm thinking.
So we could keep doing it. Yeah.
Next semester.
Well, if as a city council, we can do anything to help the process of having more utilities be welcoming of the painting, let us know.
Yeah.
Great, thank you so much.
And I am the recipient of the majority of those boxes in my neighborhood. So, yeah, we've got a couple more boxes that desperately need something. I don't know who owns them or what they're doing in there, but they're ugly and they're covered with graffiti. So come on down.
There's a utility box at Hillside and East Market.
There's one on the corner of Vista Grand in San Diego at my corner.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
This is very exciting.
It is very exciting, and I think it just proves to show how when there's collaboration and partnerships, especially with students and the leadership of the Arts and Culture Commission to really bring forth new ideas and really a reflection of the diversity that we have in Daly City. I'm excited to see the work, and this seems like a pilot project that may be able to kind of continue. I think it is beautiful because when we're walking down the street, we're going to get to see a reflection of art. And what's so exciting also to see is how you've brought your students to research and really dive into what is the culture of Daly City. And so thank you. Thank you so much for taking this on. I remember when it was first initiated back in April, and to see this come this far is very exciting. So thank you again.
Thank you so much. And I just want to thank you guys real quick, but I also wanted to thank you not just for this opportunity, but also for offering. We have several students here that got to see what a city council meeting is like. So, did you guys want to stand up? And these are some of the artists that did the box.
Oh, yeah.
You want to take a picture?
Thank you for being here. Moving on, we have our approval of the minutes for the regular meeting of April 9, 2018.
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much. May I have approval of the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Moving on to the consent agenda. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
I would like to pull item number 2 and item number 3, just for a little bit of chit-chat.
Okay.
I move for approval of the consent agenda with the exceptions of items number 2 and 3.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
So item number 2, accepting and appropriating $6,500 from the Daly City Public Library Associates.
Just use this as an opportunity to make a pitch.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. The item before you is we are accepting another grant from the Daly City Public Library Associates. Mr. Bill Lex, President of the Library Board of Trustees, is here. He also is an ex officio member of DCPLA. And I think he's here to, I think he's going to be here with us on behalf of DCPLA.
Good evening, Mr. Lex.
Good evening, Madam Mayor and council members, staff and community members. DCPLA works very hard to provide supplemental funding and support for Daly City libraries. We've all seen the budget, or at least some of us have seen the budget. We know it's grim, so this support is badly needed. I want to thank, on behalf of DCPLA, its membership, because it is a membership organization, and its community partners, businesses, organizations, corporations, and grant funding entities, because they've all contributed. I also want to challenge Daly City and North County organized labor to embrace libraries and support organizations like the Daly City Public Library Associates. It's only through you that we can make our libraries work in these very difficult times. And let me just conclude by sharing with you that of Daly City's over 100,000 residents, more than 41,000 residents are library card holders, which is about 25% of our population. We serve 4 branches, the Bayshore, John Daly, Ceremony, and Westlake branch. Last year, our libraries were visited over 360,000 times, and over 400,000 books, CDs, DVDs, and reference materials were borrowed. We offer outstanding programs through the Summer Learning Program, the Zone Project After School at Westlake, the Idea Lab at Ceremony, and Baby, Toddler, and Family Storytime programs at all 4 branches. Again, the Daly City Public Library Associates, in a variety of ways, helps make this possible and makes our libraries richer and more vibrant. So we're very pleased to offer another grant to the city, and we'll continue to work very hard to raise money and to come back again with this kind of support. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lex. I do have a note here from your president, Mr. Norris, that it was about $6,500 to fund children's books, about $3,000 a grant from Wells Fargo Foundation, and also new seating for the back wall at Westlake Library, which was $2,500 from the St. Patrick's Day Fund the Need, and $1,000 from the Ceremony Center. So all in all, it seems like amazing work that's going to go back to our youth and our community. And thank you very much.
Mayor Manalo, thank you for providing those details. And on behalf of President Tom Norris and Executive Director Susan Brissenden-Smith and the entire board, we're proud to support the libraries in this way.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
We have number 3, approving the naming of the Dolger Senior Center Library in honor of Eleanor J. Charleston.
I'll just go ahead and, do you know the time of the event?
Yes,
May 2nd.
May 2nd. It's in honor of what would be her 102nd birthday. As recall, she celebrated her 100th birthday there at the center. Her family requested to have a little memorial and birthday celebration for her at 1 p.m. at the Dolger
1 p.m.
Senior Center. So we'll be unveiling new sign there, dedicating the space in honor of Eleanor Charleston. And for the members of the community who don't know her, this is a woman who fits the profile of the volunteers we talked about the other night. She became a widow in 1985 and turned to the Dolger Senior Center to get involved as a volunteer, and she stayed there for 32 years and managed a little volunteer library there all that time. In fact, she was extremely involved in the center's planning and advisory council up until her death at age, she was age 101 and still very vital and an active part of that community. And I believe the city council received the initial request to honor her from her fellow board members on the Dolger Center Advisory and Planning Council. So that was the genesis of this one.
Thank you.
Very nice.
And I want to just say, I'm assuming that most people here do not know Eleanor, but an absolutely remarkable woman at 101, active, engaged in life, the kind of person who we should all aspire to be. She always was helping other people, and a kind of a wicked sense of humor, too. You know, she looked like everyone's perfect grandma, but, oh, she could be a little naughty sometimes, which was wonderful. She was full of life, and I can think of nothing better than to celebrate her 102nd birthday by naming the library after her, and I'd like to see some of you there, May 2nd, 1 o'clock at the Dolger Center. There'll be little refreshments and to celebrate that event. And what's great about that library, you just walk in and pick up a book off the shelf. And you can bring it back when you're done with it. You know, paperbacks. And you can donate books there. It's a great place to donate your books. So thank you for sharing that with us.
Thank you so much. Miss Eleanor Charleston was really inspiration. I got to meet her, and when they told me, and she told me her age, I could not believe it. She was extremely active and really, you would have never known her age because of how active she was, and so well, definitely well deserving of this honor.
So I'd like to make a motion to pass resolutions number 2 and 3.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Thank you.
Good job, Joseph.
For sharing that with us.
Moving on to our public hearing. Item number 5, consideration of the city's HUD 5-year consolidation plan for July 1, 2018 to June 30, 2023, and 1-year action plan for fiscal year 2018 and 2019. At this point, we have Ms. Sobel from staff. Thank you.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the City Council. Before you tonight is the 5-year HUD Consolidated Plan for 2009 through 2023. This document is required by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development as a condition of receiving Federal Community Development Block Grant and Home Funds. It describes community development needs for Daly City and sets priorities for community development activities for the next 5 years. In addition, for your consideration tonight is the HUD 1-year action plan for fiscal year 18-19. This document describes actual funding to be allocated to various activities and organizations for the coming fiscal year. With respect to the 5-year plan, the purpose of the document is to serve as guidance for how the city will utilize federal funds to address housing and community development needs. To summarize, the plan before you tonight establishes the following priority for the year's fiscal year 2019 through 2023. For housing and homeless activities, the priorities are maintain and improve housing stock, particularly affordable housing, provide supportable facilities and services for persons with special needs and homeless persons, and preserve rental assistance. With respect to non-housing community development activities, the 5-year plan prioritizes capital improvement projects, particularly ongoing payment of a 2004 loan that was used to finance development of the Bayshore Community Center. And in the public services category, the priorities are provide support for childcare services, home sharing services, legal assistance to low-income residents, preventative services to at-risk low-income youth, and various public services for special needs populations, and finally, to affirmatively further fair housing. With respect to the 1-year plan, we have not yet been notified by HUD of our actual 2018-19 allocation of block grant and home funds. For planning purposes, we have assumed that the city will receive an allocation of CDBG funds in the amount of $921,458, which was what we received in the current fiscal year. Combined with unspent prior year funds and program income, staff estimates the cities will have an estimated total of $981,458 for block grant activities in 18-19. A summary of the 18-19 CDBG funding recommendations are shown as Exhibit A to your staff report, and I'll summarize. The draft 1-year action plan shows a total of $196,292 for program administration, $420,000 for housing activities, $354,165 for capital projects, and $100,500 for public services. In addition, to block grant, the action plan describes how the city will utilize federal home funds. These funds can be used for the development of affordable housing. We are estimating that we will receive $250,000, of which we recommend 10% be allocated for program administration, and the remaining 90% for the development of affordable housing. The city has provided several opportunities for community engagement and review of both the 5-year and 1-year plans. In December of 2017, there was a public hearing on housing and community development needs. Staff conducted a survey of residents and service providers in November and December of 2017 to ascertain the public view on critical needs. A survey of there was the resident survey, and then we also conducted intercept surveys outside of various community services. A public meeting was held at the Gellert Clubhouse in November of 2017 as well. The draft 5-year HUD consolidated plan and the 1-year action plan were made available for public review at local libraries, the Daly City Community Service Center, City Hall, and on the city's website from March 22, 2018 through April 23, 2018. Public notification of the availability and description of the draft documents was printed in the Examiner and posted on the city's website, the Daly City Wire, and Facebook page. To date, we have not received any public comments. At this time, we are requesting that you conduct a public hearing and adopt a resolution regarding the city's 5-year HUD consolidated plan and 1-year action plan for fiscal year 2018-19. And I'm available to provide additional information or answer questions desired by the mayor or council members.
Thank you very much. At this point, are there any questions, or I'll open the public hearing? Okay, let's open the public hearing. And at this point, we have Mr. Patrick Carbolito from Daly City Youth Health Center. Hello.
Hi. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you. I'm Patrick Carbolito with the Daly City Youth Health Center. We're very grateful for all the support over the years that the City of Daly City has given the health center. With this funding that you guys have always given us, we're here to serve more youth and serve them even better. And we're excited to have our new building across the street at 350 90th Street. Hopefully, knock on wood, we should open in June of this year. We'll have a grand opening then. So, thank you once again for all the support that Daly City gives us.
Thank you very much for what you do for the youth.
All the services you provide.
We appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. We have Miss Carla Burden with Project READ.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and members of City Council. I am Carla Bordon, and I am with Project READ of North San Mateo County. First of all, I just really want to thank staff for the recommendation to continue their support of the Project READ. About a third of our service base goes to, about a third of our learners and tutors are Daly City residents. We have, each year we support about 40 to 60 plus learners, and we have about 20 plus tutors that come in and out. And I say that because we have rotating. Sometimes people come in and then they go out and then they come back in, and we're very happy to see them, and hopefully a lot of them are also engaging in other programs that we provide through Project READ. So we also, in addition to one-on-one tutoring and sometimes small group tutoring, we also promote the services of financial well-being. So a lot of Daly City residents participate in our, as a learner or a tutor, may also take part in our VITA program, which is the volunteer income tax preparation, or they may be part of our trainings that we do on financial well-being, so one-on-one coaching, budgeting, and all of that. So just once again, I really want to thank you, for staff, for the recommendation, and you for your continued support of Project READ in North San Mateo. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Bordon, and what you do for our community. Okay, next we have Ms. Heather Cleary with Peninsula Family Service.
Good evening, Mayor and council members, and thank you. I'm Heather Cleary with Peninsula Family Service. We operate four early learning centers, in Daly City, serving nearly 200 children ages 0 to 5 years old. And at the Mission Street site, we serve infants and toddlers there. And part of our goal is to get these children ready to go to preschool, and in that case, make sure that we really understand if they have any developmental delays, assess them, work with their parents, and get them referrals to get the support that they need so they can have a healthy education and a healthy future. We also work with the parents in that center to make sure that they have tools to be good parents and work with their children and be their child's first advocate, providing them a safe, healthy learning environment. Thank you so much for your support.
Thank you for what you do for our community. And we have Mr. David Carducci with Legal Aid Society of San Mateo County.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. Thank you. My name is David Carducci. I'm an attorney with the Legal Aid Society of San Mateo County. Our mission is to prevent homelessness and stabilize communities by helping to keep people in affordable housing. And we appreciate the partnership with the City of Daly City. Every Tuesday afternoon, we're across the street at the Daly City Community Services Center, consulting with people who have housing problems, having change forced upon them in their rental housing situations. In most situations, rent increases, landlords that won't make repairs that should be done, eviction cases. We consult with them. Sometimes we represent them in court. And again, we appreciate the partnership with the city so we can do that, and we appreciate the recommendation to receive funding this year. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your service to the community as well. Seeing no other cards, at this point I'll open it to questions from my colleagues.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Vice Mayor Buenaventura and I sat on this committee, and we had to work with staff to decide who was going to get what. There are a lot of folks out there, and believe me, I really put staff through a scrutiny. Why do we have to give them this? Why do we have to give them this? And staff adequately explained and really opened our eyes as to not to say any program is less beneficial than the other, but I think in collaboration with us working all together, we came up with a good mixture. I'd like to thank all the folks who appeared here today on behalf to say thank you. This is a big list here, but the 4 that came up to say thank you, that really means a lot, and it shows that we may have done the right thing. I do recall when we had a council meeting on applying for this CDBG grant, a lot of folks came out from the community and they basically tried to change things around, and to which we probably would not have gotten this grant had we delayed it. So it's best that we move forward and try to address as we go ahead. But the mere fact is we got it, and congratulations to all the beneficiaries out there who will be getting a part. We really appreciate everything you do for our community in Daly City. Thank you so much, and thank you, staff, Ms. Obel.
Thank you so much, Councilmember Sylvester and Vice Mayor Ventura, for being on that committee. And I know it's not an easy task, but you know, working with our community partners is huge, especially how it reaches our community on the ground and as far as the needs. So at this point, if there's no other questions or comments, I will close the hearing. Okay. And do I have
Adopt the resolution.
entertain a motion to adopt the resolution?
I'd like to make a motion to adopt this resolution.
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Sylvester. May I have roll call, please?
Ms. Christensen?
Yes.
Mr. Gangona?
Yes.
Mr. Buenaventura?
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester?
Aye.
Ms. Manalo?
Aye. Thank you very much to staff. All right, moving on to item number 6. Our use permit, UPR 7-7-17-12923, and design review DR-7-17-23024 of office conversion to apartments at 1784 Sullivan Avenue. And we have staff Alvin, Mr. Alvin here.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, members of the council. Thank you. The application before you is a proposal to construct a 7,264 square foot two-story addition to the top of, let me get this set right, to the top of an existing two-story over garage office structure. The structure would be converted into a 22 apartment building, including 4 studio apartments, 15 one-bedroom apartments, 3 two-bedroom apartments. The parking requirement at this site is subject to a recently enacted State Assembly Bill 744 for residential development that includes affordable housing. And also within 1/2 of a mile from a major transit stop. The Colma BART station is within 1/2 of a mile from this site. The parking requirement is therefore 0.5 spaces per bedroom, or 13 spaces in total, where 33 spaces would otherwise have been required. 13% of the units would be made available to very low-income households. The project is therefore also eligible for a state density bonus of 7 additional units. The applicant is requesting a density bonus of 1 unit, where the density bonus would allow 28 units here at this location. So the proposed number of dwelling units is 22. The parcel is Zone CO, which is commercial office. It's located near the corner of Eastmore and Sullivan Avenue. The 2 parcels adjacent to this, or the 3 parcels adjacent to this lot, are a combination of commercial and residential. On the north side of the lot is the CVS building. On the south side of the lot is a vacant building. Vacant lot that actually went through this process for a mixed-use building. Staff has not received a building permit application for this entitlement to date, but we have had some activity from others who are considering either purchasing it or continuing the project as it was approved. That's the existing site. Its frontage to the street is much smaller than the very narrow lot that the very narrow building sits on. This is a view looking west. It's a view looking northwest. This is the vacant lot that has recently acquired entitlements for the construction of a mixed-use building. This down here is CVS. A view looking south. That's the corner of the building. A view looking towards Highway 280 to the east. Now, the site plan is an illustration mainly of the parking configuration. The 13 parking spaces are here along the north side of the building. 10 of these parking spaces are covered. 3 are not covered. 1 is over here in the corner. 2 parking spaces are out here near the front entrance of the building. The garbage area and recycling area is here and should be and will be screened by a wooden gate that would, of course, only be open for exiting and entering vehicles to the parking lot. Typical floor plan. It's repeated on all 4 floors. A rooftop plan. These are turf areas and some seating areas on the rooftop. We're encouraging the applicant to make this space a little bit more comfortable by adding a bit more landscaping and maybe a play structure. There were comments from the Planning Commission about that. So we will work with the applicant to hopefully make this more inviting of a open usable space. North facade of the building, obviously the building would be completely redone and treated in mostly what is considered cement fiber. It's a wood-looking material that would be used on the facade here and here. The gray would be stucco, and there would be some aluminum trim work on the awnings, doors, railings, and some of the rooftop features. South elevation, elevator shaft, stairwell. This is the east facade, glazing in the front lobby. This is the gate that would move back and forth to screen the garbage and recycling area. There's a handicapped parking space right here. All rental projects of 5 or more units are subject to the city's affordable housing requirement. An applicant can satisfy the city's affordable housing requirement by providing impact fees and/or affordable housing units. The applicant is proposing to make available 13% or 3 units of the total number of units to very low-income households only. The San Mateo income limits for affordable housing would define a very low-income household in this building as a family of 2 earning no more than $58,650 per year. The affordable impact fee is, however, based on a minimum affordable housing allocation of 15%. The applicant is therefore subject to an impact fee based on a pro rata share of the unmet housing allocation of 2%, or 15 minus 13, obviously, percent. The project is exempt from the California Environmental Quality Act in accordance with the CEQA guidelines under Section 15332 for infill development. Here are your findings. And a suggested added condition from staff would be that the applicant consult with a California licensed registered landscape architect to explore landscape options, including trellising, ground covering, drought-tolerant vine systems, anything to help soften the building facade and how it relates to the street. The recommendation is that the council take the following actions: adopt the findings as outlined, affirm the environmental assessment and approve use permit 7-17-12923 and design review 7-17-12924, and also the conditions outlined in the staff report. The owner, Michael Zhao, and the applicant, ICE Engineering, are here to answer any questions you may have, and that concludes my presentation.
Thank you, Mr. Alvin. At this point, are there any questions or comments from my colleagues? Councilmember Sylvester.
Yes, Mayor, thank you. I'm just trying to work out the numbers here. I get, we have 22 units, yes, and they're going to provide 13% of 22 units, which is 3 units?
Correct.
22 times 0.13, 2.86. Is that the Daly City ordinance? Is 15%, and they're going to pay a 2% impact fee?
That's right.
For rentals.
I'm sorry?
For rentals.
For rentals,
Yeah.
okay.
It's very low income, and that's an important thing too.
The second question I have is, you gave a figure of $58,650. That's near poverty. Who can, are we going to have some sort of monitoring system to make sure that those who get those units are at that income level, or are we going to choose an AMI, a higher AMI? Who came up with 58,650?
Those are numbers that came from the county. Those are actually revised for this year. The numbers were actually lower last year.
Right, they went up a little bit. Yeah, I'm quite aware of that. So 58,650 is for what, a studio, 1 bedroom?
1 bedroom. All 3 units would be 1-bedroom units.
And the question I have is, will we be monitoring to make sure that it's in compliance with that particular income level? I guess I would ask Ms. Obel that, or is that possible?
Yeah.
Yes.
It will be, okay, thank you.
This is exactly the affordability that people in Daly City need. You know, the affordable housing where you have to make $120,000 a year to get the affordable house. We don't have too many people. That's what we call rich people, at least in my neighborhood. So to be able to provide housing for people that make less than $60,000 a year, you've got 2 people working. One of them's working for $30,000, the other one's working for less. These are people who are working hard every day and really, in this current rental market, are not going to be able to survive here. So to have even just 3 units, that's 3 families that are going to be able to have a spot here. And anything we can do to make that happen more at that economic level is really good. This building has been an eyesore for, how long has this place been abandoned? It's like forever, right? As long as I remember.
Seton Hospital owned it for, previously for
Right.
quite some time, and I think they used it for medical record storage.
Yeah. My concern is, I'm assuming the people who are doing this project are going to re-engineer this building and make sure it like holds up, because the kind of building that you do for a 2-story building is totally different than the kind of you do for a 4-story building. So you said they're here?
They are.
Yes, they are.
The engineering person.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, City Council. My name is Derek. I'm from the engineering firm.
You're going to speak up a little.
Yes, I'm from the engineering firm Ice Design. And yes, we do have civil engineering that works on the proposal of this project, especially the structural integrity of the project, the current foundation work, but that will be during the building stage.
Yes.
But we are planning out with building department. We consult with them. We have meeting with them and the engineering department for a more of a thorough investigation of the current structure.
Yeah, and a lot of times when they have parking stalls like that on the first floor, you lose a little of your shear in there. So you're going. So, but you're fully aware of that and how much that's going to cost you.
Right,
yes.
Right, yeah.
Okay.
Basically, we will do the.
I want this to be successful.
Definitely, definitely. We'll make sure it's safe.
Safe and successful.
Right.
Excellent. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I recall, on that same question, I recall one of the commissioners at planning had made mention about the engineering, and especially if you're going to go up. And I guess it hadn't been decided whether to completely tear down or redo the foundation, which is to come later, if I'm not mistaken?
Yes, we're going to do the soil report first, and then the structural engineer, they will make a decision. Yeah, based on the soil report and also the geotech engineer's recommendation.
Yes.
And then the structural engineer will see, what's the foundation going to be, and then we will see.
All right, and for Mr. Corey Alvin, one-bedroom units, 56,650. Is there a maximum occupancy limit for a one-bedroom? Say, for instance, can a couple move in there with 2 children, or their combined incomes less than 58,650?
Well, that would be administered by the building division. As far as I'm concerned, there is no limit to how many people can share an apartment.
Okay.
But I can.
As far as I know,
further look
probably this one can be, addressed in the affordable housing agreement.
That is correct. There is a occupancy limit listed in our affordable housing agreement, and it designates the sizes of affordability for different size units. I don't see anything here specifying for a one-bedroom unit what will be the maximum occupancy. I can give you the answer, but I think you folks should know that.
Right now, we are still working on the agreement with the affordable housing. That will be down the road. Yeah.
All right,
And I'm assuming we're not throwing someone out if they get pregnant and have a baby. They're still going to be able to stay there.
You get a couple come in there and have a baby within 1 or 2 years, and you're already over the occupancy limit.
Yeah, that's correct. Essentially, between now and the time that the project receives a building permit, the city will develop an agreement with the developer.
That'll be
The
specific.
very particular units,
Yes.
their finishes, and all these sorts of details be worked out.
There you go.
And it doesn't
That's
have
the
to
answer I'm looking
follow.
for.
It can be specific to this project.
It would be very specific to this project, yes.
And does that come back to council?
No, it doesn't. It's essentially an agreement the city manager reviews and approves between now and, again, the building permit issuance.
I do have a question around, I see that the levels of affordability is really at a deeper level. I see that. But I noticed that there's majority of 15 one-bedrooms, there's also studio apartments, and 3 two-bedrooms. And, given the different types of units in the building, was there any thought to at least having one of each? I mean, there's a 3 two-bedroom, so providing affordable units, having one being a 2-bedroom, one being a 1-bedroom, and one being a studio, just so that there's more options, and it's reflecting what you have to offer others.
Yeah, we did go through that with the affordable housing department, and the agreement is because actually to have a studio for the affordable housing is not so desired for them. So and we need to provide 3, and based on 3. So if we take out the studio, so to put a 2-bedroom is kind of not so fair to the developer. So basically the agreement is we have 3 one-bedroom units and on each different levels. That's
So
Current
they're on
agreement that we
all
signed.
different levels?
Right, on different levels, yes.
Okay, and then it's, the size is also
The same.
comparable to
It's comparable,
the
yes.
market rate
Yes,
units?
yep.
Okay. No other questions from my colleagues? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I see. No, I see no cards on this item.
Move to adopt the resolution.
Second. Second.
All right, can we have a roll call, please?
Ms. Christensen,
An enthusiastic yes.
Mr. Gingona,
Aye.
Mr. Buenaventura,
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester,
Aye.
Ms. Manalo.
Aye. Thank you very much, staff.
Thank you, sir.
We're on item number 7, award and construction contract for the enhanced pedestrian and bicycle visibility improvements project. We have Mr., as our staff, Mr. Yip and Mr. Fuller, please.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and council members. Staff would like to recommend that the City Council accept all responsive bids and award a construction contract for $308,563 to Pelagic Engineering of Oxnard, California, and authorize the city manager to execute the contract documents on behalf of the city. Staff further recommends the City Council affirm the SEQA determination of categorical exemption and approve the design documents. On April 11, 2016, the City Council approved the acceptance of a Measure A grant for around $337,000 from the Transportation Authority for this project. The project proposes to install flashing pedestrian signals at 3 uncontrolled intersections in the city and complete approximately 10 miles of bicycle routes remaining in our city's bicycle master plan. On June 20th, June 20th of last year, the city received 2 bids for the project ranging from $448,000 to $465,000. The bid amounts are significantly higher than our engineer's estimate of $270,000. The City Council subsequently rejected all the bids due to insufficient funds. Staff modified the contract documents and re-advertised the project in an effort to attract a wider pool of available contractors with more favorable bids. Staff also sought additional funding for the project by applying for other grant opportunities. Staff applied for and was awarded approximately $133,000 from the Bay Area Air Quality Management District Bicycle Facilities Grant. For the second bid advertisement, the revised project received 5 bids for ranging from $308,000 to $411,000. The apparent low bidder, Pelagic Engineering of Oxnard, California, has been in business since 2000. They have the required Class A license and have completed signal and striping improvements for Caltrans, Oceanside, and Galt. The total estimated cost for the project is $401,100, and this includes the contract of approximately $380,000, a 20% contingency, 10% construction inspection, and contract administration costs. No additional appropriation is needed at this time. Staff is available to provide any additional information desired by the mayor or city council members.
Thank you very much, Council Member Gongona.
Where is the east side, this one on the east side?
On the east side, that is Geneva and Oriente.
Geneva and Oriente?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Vice Mayor Buenaventura.
What does that look like in terms of the 10 miles of bicycle? Is it going to be like You know, like I noticed in San Francisco, they painted green, and is that what it's going to look like?
No, for us, we only have one that's a Class 2, which is a separated bike route, like the one in San Francisco, but we won't be painting it green. So the only one that is Class 2 is going to be on Ceremony. The remaining ones will be a shared bike route, which is basically an icon that we put in the ground, and yeah, and there's a shared lane between the vehicles and the bicycles.
Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, seeing none, do I have a motion to approve the resolution or the contract?
So moved.
Second?
All in favor? Or roll call, please?
Ms. Christensen?
Yes.
Mr. Gingona?
Aye.
Mr. Buenaventura?
Aye.
Mr. Sylvester?
Aye.
Ms. Manalo?
Aye. Thank you very much.
Thank you, City Council.
All right. At this point, we are at public appearances and oral communications, and I do want to say to our workers, thank you for your patience. We will proceed with public comment. Mr. Jeff Templin.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and City Council. My name is Jeff Templin. I've worked for Daly City for over 10 years, and I'm a second-generation Daly City employee. Before my mother got a job with City of Daly City, we lived paycheck to paycheck and struggled to make ends meet. After she was hired as an executive assistant, we were never wealthy, but she was able to comfortably support herself, my brother, and me. I find it ironic that my family now lives paycheck to paycheck, while I work for the same organization that has done so much for my family before. It boils down to two simple facts. The first, our wages are still below what they were in 2009. And second, the lack of contributions the city has given to our cafeteria plan. While the medical rate for my family has gone up $550 since 2011, I have only received $150 to offset this increase during the same time. As part of the negotiating team, I feel we are so close to an agreement with the city, and I've come up with many different creative solutions that close the gap, and I ask you to accept our current proposal. In closing, I would like to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight, and I look forward to serving the community of Daly City for many years to come.
Thank you, Mr. Templin. We have Ms. Julie Lind.
Good evening, Mayor Manalo, members of the council, and city staff. Thank you for giving me a few moments of your time this evening. I'm Julie with the San Mateo Labor Council, representing upwards of 100 affiliate unions and 73,000 members throughout the county. Over 13,000 of those members live in Daly City, and our affiliates include AFSCME 829, with whom you're currently bargaining. I also want to thank those members of AFSCME who were able to stick around. I know it's getting late, and a lot of you all start your shift for the city early in the morning, so thank you for everything that you do and for being able to stay until this portion to share with the council. And we lost probably 40 folks by now who had to take off, but I'm really impressed by and empowered by the support that you all have had for this, and that you're all standing together and showing the council that you're standing together through this fight. Negotiations have been ongoing for 9 months, and the workers have been without a contract for the last 6. The only item remaining to be settled is the proposed equity adjustment to offset the cost to employees for health care. There are, to my understanding, 11 AFSCME represented positions that have been vacant for 4 years, all of which are fully funded for wages as well as health care and pensions. The workers who've been picking up the slack of those unfilled positions are asking the city to allocate a portion of the money already budgeted to offset the cost to those employees carrying spouses or families on their health insurance plans. This would have no adverse effect on the budget, no negative impact on the current workforce, and would be a solid investment in worker recruitment and retention. It's my hope and the hope of the full labor community that these negotiations be settled fairly and expeditiously, and that when you go back to the table this week, you're able to come to a resolution that works for all parties. Thank you.
Thank you very much. May we have Mr. Nicholas Krasinski?
Good evening, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, Council, and as well as members of the community. My name is Nicholas Crescenzi. I work as a Public Works lead maintenance worker attached to Parks. For the last 6 months, I've been a member of our negotiating team. Today, we come here at a sticking point. We are looking for an equity adjustment. The city has seen fit to grant 2 other bargaining groups an equity adjustment. We are asking that the group that is the lowest paid on average for medical be brought up to what the city pays as a median. Our work group has some of the lowest paid employees in the city. The out-of-pocket cost for our family plan on Kaiser, which tends to be the lowest cost plan, is over $700, which is extremely burdensome to our members. It has made it very difficult for our department to recruit the best staff. We've had several people who have been given offers, but when they look at what the family medical out-of-pocket cost is, they can't afford to come to work here. We want to have the best staff in the county. And to do that, we need to bring our medical up to the median of what our working group is for all city staff. Even if we do that, our bargaining group will still receive the lowest for similar groups in the county. Our out-of-pocket will still remain the highest. We ask for your help in this equity adjustment. I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. I have Miss Jenna Crescenzi.
Hello. Thank you. Good evening, well, good night, Honorable Mayor, Vice Mayor, and members of the community. My name is Jenna, and my husband works for Daly City. I'm here to support him and his coworkers and her family. The cost of living in the Bay Area is high, as you know. The median home price in January 2018 for Daly City was $1,151,000. We both work full-time, and between us make a 6-figure income. But even with that, we can't afford Daly City, as is true with most of the people in this bargaining unit. My husband commutes from the East Bay every day to work, an hour plus each way. In Contra Costa, the cost is less to live, but it's still $585,000 for a house, like medium. Every dollar counts for our family who's trying to just live. I ask you that you use your heart and think about your city employees and their families working hard for you every single day, who are here 9 o'clock when they have to get up so early. So I ask that you grant this equity adjustment. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Can we have Mr. Kenneth Jones, please?
Good evening, council members. I've been living in Daly City. My family moved here 40 years ago, and they purchased a home in Daly City off Longview and Bellcrest. For them, it was an ideal dream to come out of San Francisco to come out here, and they both work for government. And my experience with government has been they've taken care of each of my family members. My mother and father both have passed, and I've taken on their patriarchal role in my community and in my home. And I'm a member, ask me, but first and foremost, I'm a member of Daly City. I'm a citizen of this city, you know, and I think about our gateway to the peninsula. If we can't help keep our fine workers in, at least working and being able to pay for their family, we won't be able to keep our peninsula together. We won't be able to keep the city, the gateway, like a city, pristine. I'm proud to know that I voted for you members, and I'm very proud to see that you members are here running the council today, and to see the integral work that you do daily through it's tedious, but it's integral, and I really believe that you guys are moving us forward in Daly City. But I really hope that as a citizen of this city that you will also help our employees too, and the members, my brothers and sisters who are members of this union also, who need just the basics. I work for the county of San Mateo too. I work for HSA, and I work down the peninsula. I've been fortunate that I've been able to hold on to what my parents first built. But like everybody say, no, the poverty, $58,000. I'm a single parent, and I've been able to manage that household and continue to put my kids through college too. But with the help of my union and with the help of good support, that this county and this city's provided me over time. I think is a blessing. I really think that's a blessing that they have the opportunity to have that same opportunity to take care of their family in health care, which is most important. So thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Michael Floyd.
Good evening, Council. I won't take up too much of your time. My name is Michael Floyd. I'm the business agent for AFSCME Local 829. We've been involved in negotiations with the city for about 9 months now, and as Julie said, we've been out of contract for over 6 months. It's been the city's position that equity adjustments will be given to bargaining units who demonstrated issue with recruitment and retention problems, so much so that you made adjustments for the police officers as well as the firefighters. Over this 9-month process, we've been able to actually identify at least 11 bargaining unit positions that have remained vacant for 4 years. Of those 11 positions, it was told to us by your finance director that those positions are budgeted. Not only are they budgeted for actual wages, they're also budgeted for CalPERS contributions as well as healthcare contributions. So what we tried to work out in terms of an equity adjustment is something that wouldn't add to the city's budget. We didn't ask for any of the money that you actually budgeted for the wages. We didn't ask for any of the money that you actually budgeted and didn't use for the CalPERS payment. We didn't even ask for all the money that you budgeted for the health care. We asked for a portion of it. We believe that's fair and equitable to help offset the cost of the health care for not even all the employees, simply the employees who are either covering a spouse or who are covering their entire family. Even with that offset, it would still mean that workers would pay from anywhere from about $450 to $500 for Kaiser, or if you had the ultimate health care plan, you pay something like $1,100 to $1,000 a month. We believe that we can settle this. That's the only outstanding issue. We please ask you to take our last proposal under consideration and think about us. Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much. We have Mr. Joshua Reese.
Hello. Well, I didn't prepare written like everyone else, but listening to everything today, Mr. Sylvester asked a very interesting question toward the end of the budget study session today about the vacant positions. That we've been shouldering the burden of that additional work, even though the positions have been budgeted for many years, but not being filled. The money's still sitting there, just rolling over from year to year, which is why we're asking for part of it. Then Mr. Sylvester asked another excellent question a few minutes ago about the affordable housing shortly for those one-bedroom units. $58,000. Did you know that most of our AFSCME members make less than $58,000 a year? So that would make it so that 3 of our members that would like to live in the city might actually be able to do so because they don't make $58,000 a year. I didn't even make that much in taxable last year as a librarian. So that means most of our library assistants, our public works crews do not make that much. And keep that in mind when we're going from paying, I think 9 years ago I paid $200 a month toward medical. I'm paying $760 right now for medical, which is why we're asking for more than $100 a month toward medical. Upping that by another $250, $272 to make it $372. I'll still be paying a lot more than I was 10 years ago while still getting paid the same as I was 10 years ago after the reductions and the furloughs and everything that we did, but we'll be getting back close to what we had, even though everything costs more now, including housing. Thank you.
Thank you. May I have Mr. Rick Medina, please?
Madam Mayor, honorable members of the City Council, we come together tonight with no discord or disrespect towards the city, but to explain to you in person as to why we have not been able to reach an agreement at the bargaining table. Although we as a group have come up with a number of creative solutions to afford some much needed health care relief that would cost the city $0 out of its operating budget. Each time that we have come up with a creative solution, the people on the other side of the table have handed back to us basically the same offer over and over again, which is not negotiating, but instead just a way of trying to reach a certain set of terms without compromise. The definition of negotiations is a give and take process between 2 or more parties seeking to discover common ground and reach an agreement to settle a matter of mutual concern. So it's not just handing us the same set of terms over and over again until we say yes to those terms. This style of negotiating, of handing us the same terms over and over again until we capitulate, has been going on for about 10 years since the city hired an outside attorney as their negotiator. Previous to her being hired, our bargaining unit sat at the table with the Director of Human Resource and the Director of Finance, and we did actually negotiate with legitimate back and forth across the bargaining table until we reached a compromise. We bought into this style of negotiating over the last 10 years to try and make the city solvent. Over this time, as a group, we took about a 10% pay cut. We gave the city 18 furlough days, while other units gave only 9 furlough days, with one unit giving 5 furlough days, and then getting those 5 days back in vacation days the next year for a net of 0 furlough days. We have also picked up the out-of-pocket expenses for healthcare increases that have amounted to close to $500,000 annually. So in theory, the $500,000 that comes out of our pockets to fund our healthcare annually just about covers our raises and healthcare stipends. So we pretty much are self-funding our increases.
Mr. Ryan Fernandez.
Grab some water, please.
Madam Mayor, Council, thank you. No other cities on the peninsula have their employees shoulder these exorbitant healthcare costs as Daly City does. For an employee at the bottom end of the pay scale to lose a quarter of your salary right off the bat to healthcare costs is financially crushing to a family. We have all done this to make the city whole. But when your savings have run out, your financial losses have outpaced your raises. As a group, we must stand and make this known. In comparison with another bargaining unit with approximately the same number of members is given 5 times the amount offered to us in both the first and second years of their contract, while another unit with about half as many members as ours is offered 2 times what we were offered in the first year and 3 times what we were offered in the second year. And lastly, another bargaining unit pays only $2,400 annually for health care, while our members pay between $8,000 and $16,000 annually for health care. It shows that an equity adjustment for our health care is urgently needed, and we come here tonight to ask for this adjustment. Over the years, we have understood that the city's plight and we have been more than generous in our givebacks to the city, and now we have explained to all of you our plight. We hope the city can be just understanding in providing this long overdue relief sought by our members to provide some of the most labor-intensive services to the city. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Most definitely, the City Council appreciates all the comments and the hard work that each and every one of you do for Daly City every day. We definitely support your hard work and commitment, and both the city and the bargaining teams have demonstrated in the negotiations. But at this time, we cannot comment publicly on the status of the labor negotiations. We've been updated consistently, but we're confident that moving forward, that the city and AFSCME will soon reach an agreement with a new contract. But wholeheartedly, I want to say thank you so much for each and every one of you for coming here today. I know you had working days and also have working days tomorrow. It's extremely, the workers are the representatives of our city as well. And so I just want to say thank you to each and every one of you for being here, expressing your concerns, because it really is important to all of us. Thank you so much. We have one more public comment. Pamela Giovanni.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. I didn't know AFSCME was going to be here tonight, so my comment will be fast in the beginning of the budget, and that happily that we heard all through the budget sessions, and that equity does need to be addressed when it comes to any of these issues. And if people go, and I do understand negotiations take a long time, so I'll address this issue first. But in the interim, I do know that there are people out here and some of the staff members that have family members that have been suffering through cancer and other traumatic illnesses and injuries, and it's not being addressed. And when you undergo that kind of financial pressure on top of medical issues, it's pretty burdensome. And that is an equitable issue, and it's very stressful on the family. And then we have people here, they commute back and forth because they were forced to leave Daly City because it costs less to live in another place, but yet they spend 2 hours on the road, and then to come here because they're still committed to Daly City. And then here it is that all the money goes out of pocket, and they're spending less time with their families. And it's the fabric of our city is our workers. And as I heard, and I appreciate that something might be moving forward, and hopefully soon, because when the fabric and the threads break, then it breaks everyone. And that breaks in our community. It breaks throughout the city. All these threads will become apart. And we need to bring all those threads and sew them together and have equity in our city, as we know that that's the right thing to do. So I'll say my comments. I guess we're going to have a public hearing and make sure that hopefully that we won't remove our public safety where there's going to be another 4, which will be 10 for our police officers that protect us. And then also the same thing as the attrition goes, when I don't understand when they were talking about this staffing, when the money is already there, and then how are people go retire, but then the people are not replaced, and then it makes twice as work on these workers and all the bargaining units that they're out there, and then they spend less time with their families and they want overtime, but that's enough. It's enough on their health and their lifestyle and quality of life, and we need to get that for our working families. Thank you.
Thank you. Once again, thank you very much for everyone being here. We're going to move on to our appointments for boards and commissions. Do we have any appointments at this time?
Yes, I do. I would like to nominate Charlie Tallarico for reappointment to the Planning Commission. He has agreed and in fact is enthusiastic about continuing his participation.
Second.
I need to bring this up, and I had thought about this when you had mentioned that you were considering it. I'm asking that you defer that appointment only for the reason that, and I don't want to go into the specific details, but I have heard that Mr. Tallarico has not been, how do I say, has made some disparaging remarks about members of the council, including the mayor. And so and me as well. And so if you want me to support Mr. Tallarico, and you may not care, but if you are interested in getting a unanimous support from the council, I would suggest that Mr. Tallarico be given an opportunity to clear some of these things up. And that's my view of it. The days of us unanimously supporting each other for our picks or our nomination, I think that's been demonstrated, that those days have passed. And so I'm more than willing to give Mr. Tallarico an opportunity. But if you want that kind of discussion to happen, I would suggest that you defer your nomination to another day.
I would like to comment on that. I am choosing Mr. Tallarico to be my nominee to the Planning Commission because of his incredible knowledge in the area of planning, his dedication to the process. He is, at this point, the only planning commissioner on the commission now that literally has gone and continues to go to every single site that's been brought up for consideration. He talks to the neighbors. He brings a lot of detail to that. He's contributed, I don't always agree with the things that he shares, but his dedication to Daly City, his knowledge, and his passion for traffic control and making that an easier project is why I'm nominating him. And he has First Amendment rights, like we all do, to say anything about anybody. You want to sue somebody for slander? Go at it. But he said some unkind things about me in the past too. But I am putting him in that position because of what he does for the city, not for some offhanded comment he may make here or there. So,
well, I agree that everybody has the First Amendment right to say and feel what they want. My issue is, I also am of the belief that if someone makes disparaging comments about the mayor, about myself, about other members of the council, I have a right to use that in deciding whether or not I'm going to support someone. So you may have great reasons for why he should be on there, but equally so are if there is a well, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Can I just comment very briefly on that? I'm not clear what you're asking for, Ray, other than the fact that you've heard that he said disparaging remarks about both the mayor and yourself. I think what you need to do to feel good about your vote is perhaps you might want to find out firsthand from him whether or not he made statements. Rather than
that is exactly why I'm asking Ms. Christensen to defer the vote so that I can do that. That's precisely the reason.
So so you want to make
after your investigation.
Let me finish. So after your investigation to determine whether or not he said these disparaging comments, assuming he said them, what then? Are we waiting for an apology? Is there some rehabilitation going to happen? I don't understand what happens. If it's a yes, he said these things, you don't vote for him. If it's a no, he didn't say these things, you do vote for him. If he said them and he's sorry and he promises not to do it again, will you vote for him? I don't understand what this is all about.
This is all about someone on the Planning Commission making disparaging remarks about members of the council, especially and including the mayor. I am not going to map out what my thoughts are once I have that discussion, if I have that discussion with him. I'm simply going to give him an opportunity, and what happens with him and I, and whether or not I decide to support someone, is my prerogative.
Absolutely. That's interesting to note that you should note that, because this council appointed someone that actually said disparaging remarks about me in public, not only in public, but also reported them to the police. Now,
so what you did is voted no on that person.
Absolutely, I did. But it wasn't. It had nothing to do with disparaging comments. They were untrue comments, and it was a false report. That's a lot different than I heard he said bad things about me and the mayor.
So at this point, there is a request, Ms. Christensen, to withdraw your nomination at this point.
Actually, Mr. Buenaventura has had 2 weeks because at the last council meeting, Mr. Sylvester was so generous to let me know that Mr. Tallarico's term had expired, and I really appreciate him bringing that to my attention. At that point, I said clearly to everyone that I would, in fact, be making this nomination at the next meeting. Remember when I said that? And I thanked you for bringing it to my attention. So I do not withdraw my nomination. If a person says untrue things, or if they're just expressing an opinion is completely appropriate for anyone to say anything about anybody. If it's an opinion, if they're stating as a fact, you know, so-and-so is a thief, or so-and-so is whatever, and it's not true, then you violated the law, and that's a problem. I have opinions about people on this council myself.
So
and
at
it's
this
my,
point,
you know, it's an opinion. It's not a statement of truth. So I'm not concerned about that, and I'd like to move forward with the nomination.
Okay. Can we have, do you have a comment?
I'd just like to make a comment, Mayor. You know, everybody has the right to talk and speak. However, when we're dealing with colleagues and constituents, and I mean, not constituents, but folks to include appointees, I would hope that we exhibit some sort of decorum and collaboration with one another and not air our dirty laundry in public. Now, I believe the vice mayor and the mayor, I haven't seen anything, but I don't think it's unreasonable for either one of them to speak with your potential appointee and just ask, did you really mean it? Mr. Gingola, I believe you're right. I don't know how this is going to turn out. I mean, what they would be looking for, but it's up to them. But I would think amongst all of us, and especially the folks that we appoint, that they exhibit a certain amount of common sense and decorum amongst one another, and you don't bite the hand that feeds you or feeds others. So that's just my comment. I just wish we get along. I mean,
well, we can always hope for decorum. That has not always been the case in this council chamber. In fact, I have been the recipient of some pretty aggressive behavior. But I do want to move forward. It's about what people do, not about how people's opinions are or what they express as a belief. It's about what they do. And the quality of his work has been outstanding, and I would like to have a vote on this.
Okay, roll call,
and you've
please.
had 2 weeks
roll call,
to talk
please.
to him.
Ms. Christensen?
Yes.
Mr. Gingona?
Yes.
Mr. Buenaventura?
No.
Mr. Sylvester?
No.
Ms. Manalo?
No.
So Mr. Tallarico will continue to serve until I make another nomination. Is that correct?
That's correct, because it still remains to be a vacancy.
and he will be able to actively be engaged in casting votes on that commission.
Until the vacancy is filled.
Point of order. There is nothing
Point
written.
of order it up one side and down the other.
Councilmember Sylvester.
There is no ordinance specifying as to who appointments and who appoints who. What the ordinance dictates is it's approved by city council. So to my belief, anyone can make a nomination. However, what I've seen is by tradition, we respect each council member and respect his or her appointment. Now, what precipitated this matter was I made a request at the last council meeting because somebody's appointment, commissioner, had expired for almost 8 or 9 months. So I have to compare apples to apples and oranges to oranges. Mr. Tallarico is nowhere near that. But as we move forward, we would hope that this matter can be resolved. And Madam Christensen, I hope it's going to be resolved for the better. I hope. And that you get your appointment.
I have to admit, this makes me extremely angry.
So
the fact that a person who has done tremendous work for the city, in fact, was a city employee for many years, doing fine work, that because your feelings are hurt because you heard rumors that he said something nasty about you, I mean, grow up. We all, we are public figures. We're going to hear nasty stuff about us all the time. It happens to me constantly. People call me up, did you know what so-and-so said about you? You just have to say, well, thank you for sharing, and move on.
Again,
life is much more important than someone offending you by saying something disparaging about you. Grow up. Good Lord.
I want to be clear. I started this discussion by asking you for an opportunity.
You've had 2 weeks.
I've not brought it up before, and I was thinking about actually not bringing it up, but when you made the motion, I thought about it, and I thought, let me give Mr. Tallarico a chance and an opportunity. That's exactly what I asked you, and I was clear. I wanted to find out what was happening, what his thoughts are with respect to members of the council. He has a right to give me his opinion about that. I can accept it. I can accept the fact that if he says that he doesn't like me as a person, that's fine too. But when you're criticizing or saying things that I think are beyond, that get sort of personal and that get, show that you're not supportive of the council, I think that's a problem. And I wanted to find out from him.
I mean, this is ridiculous.
At this point,
you guys, wait a minute. I'm really pissed now. It's like, if he says something personal about you, well, honey, you're fat. Well, yes, I am. Grow up. Good Lord, what's the matter with you people? You've been on this earth 30, 40, 50 years, and you can't take a little personal criticism?
Going to
It's ridiculous. You're acting
Mr.
like a child.
by disclosing in public some of the things that he has that has been communicated to me that he said. So I'm just going to leave it at that.
That he has said directly to you? No, that you heard hearsay. As an attorney, you know well that hearsay is a bunch of BS.
That's exactly why I'm trying to give him an opportunity.
You had 2 weeks. I'm done. You people are crazy. And that's my opinion, which the First Amendment gives me full power to say, and I don't think there's anyone out there who's heard this exchange that would not agree with me, and probably including your own families. I'm done. Carry on.
Okay, I think we'll still have quorum. So moving on to reports, we do have our council committee reports. And we did meet to let the public know that on Friday, April 20th, we met on the Point Martin Daly City development. And basically, it was a design review. The facades of the development will be chosen by the developer, but the individual plan interior-wise will be made by those who purchased those developments. It was the direction of the committee to move forward with the staff recommendations, and that will be forthcoming in the future city council meetings. Also, are there any other committee meetings? Council member?
Yes.
Sylvester, I see.
All right, put my glasses away, I'm sorry.
No problem. We're not hitting a midnight evening, so don't worry about it.
All right, April 19th, I had the opportunity to attend Office of Emergency Services in San Mateo. We didn't pass the budget at this time, but the most important thing is as a result of the Sonoma fires, a lot had to be learned. So Senate Bill 833 was introduced to come up with standards amongst volunteers and mutual aid for hazard mitigation, and to also look for grant opportunities for the future in case we should have another tragedy. All right, that's OES. On the same date, I had the opportunity to attend commute.org, one of my favorite committees. The city of San Mateo has purchased 10 fully electric buses. Samtrans, I said the city. It's Samtrans, and they purchased 10 buses, and they hope by the year 2033 their entire fleet will be electric. Just with 10 buses, it's estimated that they'll reduce carbon emissions by 5 million pounds.
Yep.
And you have to remember that with EV vehicles, there's no oil changes, and maintenance will be lower. They'll operate on a 400 kilowatt battery. There's also a survey that's gone out to every resident in San Mateo. If you haven't gotten it, you can go on this getusmoving.org. They sent out close to 100,000 surveys. And basically, they want to know what it is that you want to see for transportation priority, what your priority is. A lot of folks say potholes. I think Daly City needs east and west transportation rather than north and south. Well, they're looking at putting in a measure which is a half-cent sales tax. So far, out of the 100,000 surveys, they got 14,000 back. 78% of them support it, and what they're looking at is over a 30-year measure that they will generate close to $80 million a year. So watch for that. Don't forget about carpool. If you ride with someone or pick someone up, you can make $2 each way. Don't forget about Bike to Work Day, which is coming May 10th, where you can bike to work, you let them know, and there's lots of prizes to be won. And something called Scoop app. It's you can log on to the app, tell them what time you're going to work, what time you're coming home, and they'll match you with somebody who's going the same direction as you. So in order to do so, you gotta let them know by 9 p.m. at night for a morning run, or 3 p.m. in the afternoon for an evening run. So that's all I have for commute.org and OES. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much, Councilmember Sylvester. It's so important to have a representative, most importantly in commute.org, given the fact that we're still trying to solve for our congestion issue. So thank you for that and letting our public know. Moving on to City Council reports, I do want to share with the public that myself, Vice Mayor Ray Ventura, Councilmember Glenn Sylvester, attended the Progress Seminar, and which there were representatives from both the public sector, government, the private sector, companies from all over San Mateo, and the nonprofit sector to tackle issues such as housing, affordable housing, transit, and also finding ways to get deeper with community engagement. That happened, and it was a really, we learned a lot and hopefully can work with our partners in moving our city forward. This past week, the Chamber of Commerce held the networking events, and they had the small business event right here at City Hall. Also, was able to attend the annual bocce ball contest right at our where Dolger's Senior Center is. The seniors did win. They beat Police and Fire. And it was really just a great event where you see, you really see, you know, communities, just a beautiful time of community, seeing our public service and our seniors together. Also, on April 21st, if you didn't see it on Mission Street at Jefferson High School, where I am an alumni and Councilmember Sylvester's children were alumni, there was an inaugural car show. So if you love classic cars and other cars, that actually all went to proceeds to Jefferson High School, and a lot of the students worked over a year ago to put that together with some volunteers, and so it was really great to see that. In the same manner, Earth Day. Who was here at Earth Day? I know people had brought in their old tires, also brought their documents to shred, any old TVs that you had, monitors. I mean, it was definitely a packed house here at City Hall, and it was really inspiring to see everyone participate on Earth Day. There were long lines out there, and I think a learned lesson happened that we need, I think, more trucks for the shredding documents, because I know people were turned away. I mean, that just showed how much people were willing to make sure that we recycle. Also that same day for Earth Day, Top of the Hill Mission Community cleaned up the streets at Top of the Hill. And so, I mean, we have a robust community effort on Earth Day. I'm so proud, and I want to say thank you to everyone that participated. Also, I will now move on to our upcoming events. We will have, as mentioned earlier by Councilmember Sylvester, the Get Us Moving survey. And so there will be a Get Us Moving town hall meeting in Daly City. That was definitely a request from our community members to have one in Daly City. So we'll have it on May 2nd. It'll be on May 2nd at the Dolger Senior Center at 6:30 p.m. And so if you have or know of anyone that has any issues or comments or ideas around what's needed around transit, please join and participate at that meeting. Also, our upcoming cultural events. Cinco de Mayo will be on May 4th, although it's not the 5th. We'll be celebrating at 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And so please join. And last but not least, on May 12th, Saturday, there's 2 events in our communities. We have our gun buyback at City Hall here, as mentioned. It will, no asking names, it's anonymous. We're gonna have our full DCPD here to help out. It'll be 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. And also, as mentioned earlier, on May 12th at the Dolger Senior Center, there'll be hepatitis B screening and education from 12 to 2:30 p.m. And at this point, are there any other city council reports? We're moving on. Does the staff have any reports at this time? No reports. Ms. Martel, any reports at this time? Seeing none, at this moment, we would like to adjourn in memory of Steve Arevalo, and I'd like to open up the floor to anyone that would like to speak in
Yes.
his memory.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. Steve Arevalo was a very, very good friend of mine that died tragically just a couple of weeks ago. He's known in the community as a manong, which is basically an elder statesman of the older generation of the Filipino community. He has mentored many of us, including myself, and has really given a lot to the community. And I'm just, it was a sad day for our community when I learned of his passing. There's a memorial that's going to be held on May 6th in San Jose. If you're friends with Steve Arevalo, just go on his Facebook page and it'll give you the details. There's also going to be a memorial planned in San Francisco. That date is May 20th, and it's going to be at the Manila Town Hotel, iHotel on Kearney Street, May 20th from 1 to 4. So God bless you, Steve. Thank you for your mentorship, your friendship, and may you rest in peace.
I also want to say some words about Steve Arevalo. He, although I've been able to know him for maybe about 4 years, he always had an open ear and really shared with me around the community work he was able to do, which is over decades. I would say like 50 years of just sharing his insights and always just guiding me, and also being very direct around what could be done for the community in a very holistic and visionary manner. And so I just want to say thank you for always lending your ear and giving me your advice, and you will be truly missed.
This is a quick one. I always add humor to basically a lot of things. I just met Steve recently, but he definitely left an impression with me, and someone I'll never forget. And I think he became my best friend because he fell in love with hot pastrami sandwiches that I used to bring him. So may he rest in peace, and just thought I'd put that out there.
Thank you. Also, we have Mr. James Hennessy, husband of the SF Sheriff, Councilmember Sylvester.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. I had the opportunity to work with Jim Hennessy. He was on a special detail with the police department that a lot of folks aspire to be, and that's on the horses. If you were to join the police department today, it would take you 25 years to make the horses. But anyway, he was a mentor to me. He served on the Police Credit Union Board of Directors, and we've done a lot together. Any time you see him, any venue that you're with, whether it's dinner or whatever, he always had a story to say. He is also the husband of the current sheriff of San Francisco, Vicky Hennessy. He did his time in the military, and he had a blood disorder when he was in the Navy, and I think he was subject to something called Agent Orange. And as a result, 75 years, that's pretty good. But may Jim Hennessy rest in peace. I'll miss you, buddy. And heaven has gained another angel. Thank you, Madam Mayor.
Thank you very much. Also, we have Julia Predetti, who passed on April 10th, who was 96 years old, was a loving wife and mother and grandmother of Daly City firefighter Mike Predetti. Mrs. Predetti graduated from Jefferson High School as valedictorian and later returned to work part-time in the cafeteria at Jefferson High School. Spent many of her life for others, serving the community at Holy Angels Italian Catholic Federation, and was awarded our 2006 Woman of Excellence Award. She'll be dearly missed by family and friends. Also, Justito Santos Tanedo, which is John Grimley and water operator to's brother-in-law. And so with this, may we all have a moment of silence.